You're listening to TJ's One of Us for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter at ANY Podcast. You can also find us on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, my lucky son still had me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a hybrid show for the Always Next Year podcast. This is going to be a TJ's One of Us episode meets a Crossing Borders episode, as the teams have kind of combined here for one kind of joint NBA free agency period episode. We have a full room today. I'm your host, Shane. I am joined by our newest member, Scott, out in LA. Scott, how are you?
What's going on, Shane? Pretty good out here.
Of course it is. Of course it is. We're dealing with ridiculous weather up and down here in PA, and isn't that awesome? Scott, you've recently written your debut piece for us. You have another one in the works for UFC MMA. So any of you guys who enjoy that, you guys will really enjoy Scott. Scott, before I forget later in the evening, you have now updated your Twitter. What is your new Twitter handle for us?
It's SP Novick. So it's SP as in Paul, and then Novick, my last name, Novick.
All right. And then we have our mainstays. We have Rob from the host of Disciples of Ed and then co-host with TJ's One of Us. Rob, how are you, sir?
Doing just fine. Phillies won today, so I'm happy.
Phillies did win today, and you're $120 richer because you were driving at the ridiculous hour of 3 a.m. How's Uber going for you?
It's going great. Lots of beautiful women picking up rides for me.
Yeah, it doesn't sound creepy at all.
It doesn't.
Not
but
even a little bit. Like,
no,
there will definitely not
totally
be a Netflix
does.
special on you in the very near to immediate future.
Oh my
But
God.
you're a hell of an advertiser for us as you're out there playing our podcast and having our business cards in your front seat, which is wonderful. So as always, Rob, good to have you on. And then we have Connor from our Crossing Border show. Connor, you do occasionally guest on our TJ's One of Us as well. So most of our regular listeners are quite fond of you as well. How are you?
Well, I am busy, but between preparing to put my house on the market and going to Europe at the end of this week, it's been a crazy couple weeks.
Your life just sounds so much more interesting than ours. And not to make anything political, but the fact that you're in Canada, your life just has to be just infinitely better than ours in the U.S.
Judging by what I hear, free healthcare isn't all it's cracked up to be when you sit in a waiting room for 8 hours and you guys get like 8 minutes of waiting.
It's funny that you think that anyone has ever waited for just 8 minutes for anything in the United States. But I appreciate your naivety. That's fine. But this is going to be, again, a NBA free agency 100% geared towards what is going on. The complete landscape of the NBA has changed. One of the beautiful things about the NBA, while there is significantly less parity than what that of the NFL brings, there's still power shifts amongst different major market and major city teams. And we've seen that all across the NBA. So what we've done is we've divvied this up. Scott being from LA and being the fact that I have known him the longest.
I'm from Philly. I got to interject there.
You're from Philly?
Don't insult me like that and tell people.
Don't misrepresent
from
him, man.
LA. Yeah.
Well, first of all,
We're not from Philly. All right. Well, I'm from Bucks County. I forget the people on the East Coast actually know where Bucks County is. But
all right, that's fine. Did you just use the word peep?
no, people.
People. All right, good. I was going to say you're an
peeps.
asshole.
I'll
and
never
I'd have
say
to,
peep. I hate
unfortunately-
those things.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm too old. All right, so originally from the East Coast, now our West Coast representative out there. We've known each other the longest, so we're going to tackle the West Conference. So we're going to speak primarily on that. We will interject on things that, again, we vehemently disagree with or things that we find super interesting on the takes that is going to be represented for the East. That is by Rob and by Connor. We've kind of taken a bunch of standard questions and standard takes that have gone throughout Twitter to this point, and we're going to break those things down. So first of all, we're going to start in the East because it is our Philadelphia 76ers conference. We're going to start out there. So for you, Connor, who is the biggest winner right now in your conference? You can go team, you can go individual player.
Well, I got two. I got the Nets and I got the Sixers. So I got the Nets because they were an 8 seed last year and they got Kyrie, Durant, and DeAndre Jordan. How can that not be a win for you if you were already a playoff team and you add those three pieces? Granted, Durant won't play this year, but still, the fact that you got Kyrie and DeAndre Jordan, and then you're going to add Durant down the road to that. And I know that we've talked about a lot in our group chats about Durant and his health. I think he's going to come back just fine. Like I argued, the point of where medical is now versus when in 2013 when Kobe Bryant went down, and the fact that Kobe Bryant was 34 years old, I think we have very little to be worried about with Durant.
Although he only has to wait 8 minutes for that coverage to kick in.
You think for 2 seconds Durant even has to wait 8 minutes? Please.
Durant probably doesn't even have to wait 8 seconds. Let's be honest.
Exactly. He's got a doctor lined up and he just walks in and says, all right, fix my Achilles and let's get this party started.
But yes.
Yeah, well, whatever.
And
then I got the Sixers because we basically did a modified run it back approach. And I did see your tweet today, Shane, about LeBron James. I'm thoroughly disgusted by the fact that he thinks running back 4 or 5 players is a run it back. I completely agree with you on that statement. But yeah, so I got the Sixers because they modified the run it back, and I don't think there's enough emphasis that we can put on the importance of O'Quinn and Horford to Embiid's longevity and Embiid's future with the team, as well as what about that defense? What about who is going to go out and score more than 100 points a night on this defense? So those are my 2 winners.
I got something to say on your Nets one in a few minutes, but Rob, let's go to you, sir. What do you got for your biggest winners if they differ from what that of Connor's were?
I'm going solely with the Sixers just because Al Horford is a great addition to this team. Veteran presence that they badly needed last season. He provides that. He can do a lot of different things out there in the court. I know he's getting a little bit older. He's not quite what he used to be, but he's still a very effective basketball player. And also, I love the Josh Richardson trade. I know I said before that I didn't want to do a sign-and trade involving Jimmy Butler, but that was assuming that I was going to the Rockets. The trade with the Heat, bringing in Josh Richardson, I really like it. He does a lot of things very similar to what Jimmy Butler did on the court, and he's a younger player. He comes at a cheaper price. I also like the Kyle O'Quinn signing. That's another good depth signing for the Sixers at the big man position to help give Embiid a blow every once in a while. So I like that. And yes, I agree with Connor. This is going to be a very hard Sixers team to score on, which is quite different from what they were last year. Last year, they were not very good defensively. They've improved drastically in that regard, and that's going to help them a lot come playoff time. So I think the biggest winner, it's going straight to the Sixers.
So whoa. I got to step in here. You were telling me a number 8 seed team adding Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Jordan is not a winner while losing very limited pieces?
He didn't say they weren't a winner. He just wasn't
as much.
I didn't say that they weren't a winner, but the Sixers are a bigger winner than the Nets are. And part of that has to do with the fact that Durant's going to be injured and missing next season. And when he comes back, he'll be a year older. He'll be, 33, something like that?
30,
he'll still be
31 or 2.
He'll still be a very effective player, but after coming off an Achilles injury, I have to think that he's going to take a slight step backwards. So, yes, the Nets did have a successful offseason, a very successful offseason, but I think the Sixers beat them out by a hair.
Fair. You might catch some flack for that. There was a lot of movement in the East, but for the loser side, I think, but...
For sure. Yeah, the East was far more active in things to kind of rant about if you were from any of those other cities. I do have to sit here and say with the Nets, Kyrie is such a jerk. Like this guy, I don't have the same amount of trust that you guys clearly have, or Connor, at least you clearly have in Kyrie, to be like an adult and a professional. He's rarely healthy, not rarely healthy, but his health is an issue. I do not for a second see him to be a team guy. You're adding another big personality, a quiet personality, but still big and very dickish in KD. And he's a 6'11" guy who's coming back from an Achilles after 30. I don't care how good you think the medical thing is here or just in general. That's still a question mark. And I love the people that are sitting here calling it a big three, and they're using DeAndre Jordan's name as if he's elite at fucking all. So
no, he absolutely is not.
And I respect more so that the fact that Brooklyn is the team to watch rather than the dumpster fire that is the Knicks. That'll undoubtedly be one of your teams that have lost or cities that have lost in all of this. So I appreciate that. Not unlike how I appreciate the Clippers kind of stole LA from the Lakers a little bit here. But to say that the Nets for you are your big winners over the Sixers, or even sharing that with the Sixers, it's questionable to me at best. Scott, you got anything on that?
Honestly, I'm chomping at the bit to talk about how much I hate the Knicks and how happy I am that they suck. And I am happy that the Nets took that over from them a little bit. But I agree. I think Kevin Durant's a huge question mark right now. I don't understand why everyone was very concerned with DeMarcus Cousins when, he tore his Achilles and now he's getting a $3.5 million contract with the Lakers this year as opposed to a max deal. Whereas Kevin Durant, no one even thought twice about the fact that this guy,
Well, the Knicks did.
Yeah, it's true.
Apparently so.
It's the only smart thing James Dolan ever did, but it also might have been stupid. We don't know yet. But to me, thinking that Kyrie Irving is going to save the Nets for a year and hold them up on themselves while they wait for Kevin Durant to come back is questionable. I don't know how the two of them are going to play together. But I mean, it's definitely an improvement. I mean, they're in my eyes, they're a better team, but they're not an elite team. Like they're up there, but they're not elite in my eyes yet.
I mean, I gotta interject in the fact that like this was a still a playoff team, and the pieces that they're adding only make them better. I don't see how they can't.
Theoretically, they still have to mesh on the court.
Theoretically, yes, but I mean, in my personal opinion, despite like set aside the whole fact of Kyrie's personality, because there's a personality in you say he's a jerk, Jimmy Butler's a jerk. Just as much as Kyrie Irving's a jerk. Jimmy Butler made us all believe that he was coming back. And then he basically told us, I want my own team and I don't want to be around personalities. Similar situation. I personally would rather Kyrie over Kemba. And I mean, but feel free to argue for that. But I feel like Kemba is a less of a Kyrie. Like, I think Kyrie is a more all-around player than Kemba, and I think that you want a Kyrie. If I were the Nets, I would take a Kyrie over Kemba. I would take a Kyrie over most point guards that were out on the market.
Jesus. All right. Maybe I'm just a Kyrie hater, but yeah, I do not believe in that guy whatsoever.
I still love the Sixers, and that's my team. But I mean,
no one's saying that I can't say the Nets a winner. That you're a Nets fan. You're just arguing a fact.
There are no Nets fans. Let's put that.
There isn't. There is not.
There literally are
There's
no
people
Nets
in Brooklyn.
like none.
Let me tell you, there is about to be a whole train of Nets fans start to arrive here. So,
I mean,
probably.
Yeah.
Speaking of bandwagon cities and fans, let's roll to our West Coast guy, Scott. Scott, your winner for the Western Conference this year.
My winner for the Western Conference, I'm going to take a turn here, is Paul George. By far, he is reaping the benefits of Kawhi dropping in LA as a Clipper. I feel like it's weird that we have to clarify that, he's a Clipper. Paul George, no one saw that coming at all. And now, guess what? He's immediately on the team favored to win the NBA championship. He's playing with Kawhi Leonard. I'm shocked. But he has to be sitting there smiling and just, chomping at the bit to get back out there and start playing immediately.
Yeah, I think that anytime you can leave a guy like Russell Westbrook and the star that you get to pick up and play alongside is Kawhi fucking Leonard, it's a pretty big win. That is a pretty big win. Their wing depth over there is just disgusting. with Kawhi, Paul George, they Harkless. I mean, that's a damn good team. So yeah, Paul George gets to go to LA after all and doesn't have to sit there and share a bench with the unlikable LeBron James, completely unlikable LeBron James.
Yeah.
Increasingly unlikable as his career has gone along.
Dude's just a weenie. What a vag. Hate that guy.
It's weird. Right. I didn't hate him before, but once he went to LA, he became the biggest prima donna of all time. I can't stand prima donnas, and I can't stand the way LeBron has become since he went over to the Lakers.
For me, I don't want to say I've always disliked him. I was just a Kobe guy, and there's like this weird thing. Like if you grew up and you were a Jordan guy, like you didn't appreciate Kobe in the same way that you ever would have appreciated Jordan. I grew up appreciating Kobe Bryant for what he was in the NBA. And like for me, I don't think that I was ever going to sit there and find that same sort of appreciation for LeBron James, even with the style of basketball changing to fit more so what he is. But for me, I appreciated the talent all along, but damn, he is an unlikable human being. And boy, would I fucking hate to be his teammate or coach.
He basically is the coach.
Oh yeah.
That's the problem. It's him and Rich Paul together. They're just they're so unlikable, both of them, and they've created a monopoly on basketball business, and they just kind of the rest of the league is just puppets, and they're pulling the strings on it all. That to me, that's why I no longer like them.
I agree. Like I've heard a lot of people talking about how NBA players run the NBA versus the way that the NFL is. Like you can have a salary cap, but if players are pulling the strings like this, and you're just sitting there thinking, who's the next super team? How can you really truly get that excited for the NBA season when you're just waiting to see which of the 4 or 5 superpowers is going to win their Larry O'Brien at the end of the year?
Yeah, could not agree more. And we've talked about that pretty much ad nauseum now on TJ is One of Us and a little bit on Crossing Borders. So I'm sure we will continue to hit on that exact point. My winner is just to be slightly different. I'm going to go with the Pelicans. Anthony Davis, what he was doing, he's another unlikable human being. He and LeBron fucking deserve each other. And I hope that experiment crashes and burns out there. But the way that he went about this, signing the contract that he did, and then essentially saying, you know what, I don't believe in this team or city anymore. Fucking trade me. And to be, I don't know, to handle himself the way that he did last season and forcing himself out. I think the Pelicans made out so fucking well and they're going to be so fun. And they're who I right now just envision in my head being like, we're going to play so far above our expectations because we're too young and stupid to know that we're not supposed to be as good as we could potentially be. But when you sit there and you look at how many assets they have to their name, both in young players, controllable players that they have, controllable vets, and then the draft picks, if they're in conversation, as a kind of a middle, 4, 5, 6 seed in the West, come trade deadline, they have more than enough assets to make a splash. And I'm super excited about what they can do. So over there, what they were able to do to shed a personality like AD and to bring in what I already think is going to be one of the most likable superstars in the NBA in Zion, that's just such a win for that fan base, for that city, and for that team.
Yeah, Dell Demps is a front runner already for the GM of the year with the way that he's been able to maneuver this offseason and set the Pelicans up in a position to be competitive for a long time. So I got to applaud the job that he's done over there.
I absolutely agree. The moves he made, even on draft night, was just unreal. The pieces that he was able to get, the assets. He kind of reminds me of Sam Hinkie with a plan, with a less. You want to
say Sam didn't have a plan?
A less broader plan. Sorry. Let me not throw it out there. Let's not throw the process under the bus here.
What's on Hinkie's cell phone is a kill plan for you. Damn.
That team is so exciting to think of, and who I'm so pumped for is Drew Holiday, that he's over there.
Should.
He's over there, and I'm so proud of him because he's gonna be the quarterback of a team that is gonna do extremely well this year, and I would love to see them knock off the Clippers or the Lakers or the Warriors. Anybody.
I think the reason that they're it's similar to the same reasons that you guys all say the Pelicans are, are big and exciting. We're all happy for them. Is the fact that they made the best of a bad situation.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, think about what happened to the Lakers last year. Their locker room fell apart. They literally went from like what, a 4 seed in the league or whatever at that time. And granted, it was earlier in the year. I get that. And then the trade rumors came out and they fell apart. Literally everyone turned on each other. You know, it was a horrible environment.
Yeah.
No one wanted to be there. The same thing could have happened to the Pelicans, but they turned it around and they have everyone rooting for them again. They were in danger of losing the team to another city, and they come back and do this. It's incredible.
Yeah, big winners for me. I would also, I had a sub point in there just as a minor one, but the fact that the Clippers were able to sit there and pull the half of what they were selling to get Paul George from the Sixers. That trade, even though it wasn't an off-season trade this year, it's the deadline last season, that was sneaky fucking good. So that's a big win when you can acquire assets previously in the year and to be able to flip them, as they have for a superstar such as Paul George. So for me, the two biggest winners are the Clippers front office and then the Pelicans just as a fucking city and team is so exciting. Let's switch over to our biggest losers. I feel like the East is going to have a hell of a lot more to talk about than what the West will at this point. And I got to say, I'm pretty fucking about it. So let's let these Knick things just come flying. I know that Scott's going to, he said he was chomping at the bit to talk a little Knicks as well. So we'll get to him shortly. But we started with Connor last time. Rob, we'll start with you. Your loser of the Eastern Conference during the offseason.
Well, clearly the Knicks are a huge loser because they didn't do anything, but I'm not going to go with them. I'm going to go with Toronto because of the fact that they lost the best player in the NBA, the sole reason why they won the NBA championship, Kawhi Leonard. That's going to be a huge loss because they're going to have a tough time moving on from that. I know that Siakam is an up-and-coming player, but they also lost Danny Green. Gasol is getting older. Lowry's getting older, so
Lowry's getting fatter too. Damn,
he is getting fatter too.
Good
yeah,
Lord.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's hit a gym. He's looking like me.
So losing Kawhi though, I don't want to say it's going to knock them completely out of the playoffs. They'll still be a playoff team, but they're definitely no longer a title contender. So that championship window, good for them that they won it this past season because that championship window just slammed shut the moment that Kawhi penned that deal with the LA Clippers.
I have to agree with you on that. Like, I mean, take a look at the plus minus without Leonard when he was off the court in the playoffs for those couple of minutes he was off against us. They were like minus 100 without him on the court. Like that, I mean, I hate to dive into statistics too much, but I mean,
No,
that's true, but I mean, you got to admit it. If you look at a team and their star player is off and they're minus triple digits and he's only off for a couple minutes a game, that has to get you nervous about what is happening in Toronto. I mean, a lot of my buddies are like, well, at least we won a title up here, and I'm like, is that all you want? Like the Eagles won their first title, and I'm not sitting there and I'm saying, well, at least we won a title. I want more. and then you look at it, and my biggest thing is Siakam. What is Siakam going to be without Leonard to spread the floor, to space the floor? I'm not sold on Siakam being that guy who's going to go out and get you 25 points a night, 10 rebounds.
Well, he also can't fucking shoot.
Exactly. He's not going to be that
star that can't shoot.
Exactly. I'm not sold on him contributing and spacing out the floor. And I think another big loss for the Raptors was that this wait for Leonard destroyed their opportunity to get anybody. By the time all was said and done, the biggest free agent besides Leonard was Danny Green. And Danny Green had his destination in mind the minute that Kawhi Leonard made his move. So Kawhi Leonard not only screwed the Lakers in a way, but he also screwed the Raptors because the Raptors could do nothing. They were stuck with what they had. And they went out and signed Hollis Jefferson today.
Let's be serious.
That's literally all they could get.
You think fucking Kyrie or KD were beating down the door to go to Toronto?
Nobody
was.
You know what? You talk about
so they didn't wait on Kawhi. Like that was literally the only thing they had a shot at.
You talk about how lucky I am to live in Canada. Well, let me tell you, I'm glad I'm not a Canadian sports fan because nobody knocks at our door. Nobody wants to come up and live here and play
Except for
for
John
us.
Tavares.
There you go,
That's
John
true.
Tavares.
Wanted to
But
go home.
Kawhi was like forced up here. If it wasn't by force by the Spurs, he wouldn't have come here. Let's be real. We all know that. Just like we all knew the Clippers was where he was gonna go. He was just playing a game. It was just Kawhi's sick mind saying, "You guys don't know what I'm thinking. You don't know what I'm doing." But
I
we
don't know,
all
man. I think that had LA not given him the insurance or the assurances that they had the assets to obtain an agreement for Paul George that he would not be going there, quote unquote, alone, even though they are a very deep team as it is. I think that he would have signed a 2-year deal in a 2+1 deal or up north with Toronto.
There was
I
a
really
lot of
do.
rumors that he wasn't interested in doing something like that. So I mean, I'm not actually convinced. Although a lot of NBA insiders have lost some credibility with this whole situation with Kawhi, which is also really cool to see. But I mean, at the same time, and sub note before you guys go in on the Knicks, I think the Celtics are a big loser this offseason because Danny Ainge thought he had when
Danny
he
Ainge
took
is a jackass.
when he took that deal with the Nets. Let's think back to we thought the Nets were gone. They weren't even gonna they probably were gonna lose their team. They lost all these picks. They got these players who produced nothing. Danny
They
Ainge
lost
is a loser.
Jay-Z.
Exactly. I think that Danny Ainge and the Celtics have to be a loser as well because the Nets, I feel, are at the same level as the Celtics at this point in this situation. And Danny Ainge thought he had buried the Nets with that deal. So side note before you guys go in on the Knicks. But those were my losers.
My only real thought to them losing, the Knicks losing is the fact, or the Knicks, Boston losing is the fact that we got Al Horford, which it was the one of two players in the NBA that could shut down Embiid regularly. I don't like Kemba's going to score the basketball, but he can't play defense, and he's kind of a one-trick guy on the offensive side. I don't really have to fear them the way that I used to, and I think that's what makes them a loser more so than anything. I don't think losing Kyrie is fucking anything. I don't think that means a damn thing to anybody. That's how little I think of Kyrie. But yeah, the Celtics are certainly losers for sure. Scott, why don't you rip the Knicks for us for a quick minute?
I mean, the Knicks did nothing, literally nothing. I mean, let's think back to last year and Kristaps Porzingis got shipped away. We were all kind of shocked on that one. We didn't see it coming. It happened out of nowhere. Literally one day he says, "Hey, I want to trade. I want to get out. I'm not happy with management." The next day he's gone. The day after that, there's a pending sexual assault case against him. So people are like, all right, the Knicks did that for, a real reason. Nothing has played out really with that case, or I haven't been following it too much, but Kristaps Porzingis signs a max deal. So, I mean, it can't be too much of a question about him anymore. He's officially gone. He was the future of the Knicks. Then everyone in New York thinks that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are coming there. Literally everyone in my eyes, everyone saw that. All my friends are Knicks fans from college. They were all bragging about it, talking about how they were going to finally be a good team. Neither of them end up going there, and they end up going across the bridge to the fucking Brooklyn Nets. And the Knicks are left there sitting with their dicks in their hands. And what do they get? Bobby Portis and like 4 other power forwards that they're planning on, relying on. Are you kidding me? I don't understand how James Dolan thinks he's doing anything reasonable for New York. I mean, nobody likes the guy at this point, and they're trying to force him out. But I mean, I'm happy that the Knicks suck again, and that they're going to continue to suck for a while. I don't see a way that they get out of this, but it is New York, and everyone does seemingly want to go play in New York. So I mean, I'm sure they'll get out of it. They'll get some stars there at some point in the next couple of years. And I mean, just to contradict myself a little bit here, as much as I hate the Knicks and as happy as I am that they suck, basketball is better when the Knicks are a good team. So it would be good for all of us if someone would go there, and then we could, have a legitimate conversation about how we hate the Knicks and, how it's a real rivalry. But we're just not going to get that for the foreseeable future. End rant.
I kind of liken the entire Knicks situation to the 3 weeks leading up to the day that the Phillies signed Bryce Harper. Like at that point, Machado was signing, and in San Diego, so we had lost out on that. There was the thought that he could potentially go back to the Nationals for another ridiculous deal, which was never going to fucking happen. The Dodgers talked themselves back into things. San Francisco talked themselves back into things. And if you paid attention to Philly Twitter or like society in the like Delaware Valley area, we were not fucking happy because the entire thing that our organization sold us on was about to not fucking happen. And lo and behold, we do get our superstar. So we don't have to go through what the Knicks are going through. We just have to go through mediocre baseball at the time. But we have our guy. The Knicks cannot say the fucking same.
I think I was the only person who was never had any doubt that Bryce Harper was going to come to Philly, even when all those rumors were happening.
I was driving that bus. I was that guy. I'm pretty sure I tweeted out the video of me, the work video of me from the security cameras celebrating when Manny signed in San Diego, because that just further confirmed for me that Bryce was going to come here, because there was no fucking way that they were going to let Bryce Harper, the face of baseball, exceed their valuation again. Like that wasn't going to happen. I was driving that bus, man. I saw you there first seat. Don't think I didn't. But don't you sit there and tell me that I wasn't on there with you.
Oh, man. All right. I was sitting in the very front seat then. If you were driving, I was sitting in the front seat.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you were taking the tickets and making sure that you checked everyone else's social media to make sure that they didn't fuck around with stuff. Let's move to the West now for biggest losers. Scott, we'll start with you again.
I'm going to go the other side of my last pick here, and Russell Westbrook is by far the biggest loser in the West. So not only did, he think before last year they signed Paul George to, what was it, a 4-year deal that he had been signed to? I don't quite remember the details of it. But, yeah, so it was a 4-year deal. They were expected to play together. Last year they did play pretty well together. I mean, Paul George had the second most points per touch, I believe, in the NBA, behind only Kawhi Leonard, who he's ironically playing with now. And the Thunder lose that. They don't have any time to make any other moves because it was so late in the game here in free agency. So they're just kind of stuck. Oh, and on top of that, Russell Westbrook is now furious and he wants to get traded somewhere. So I don't know where he thinks he's going to go, and it's magically going to fix all the problems he's having. But I mean, he is stuck there. The Thunder are fucked. They need to make some kind of big move.
That
right
team.
Now, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they did pick up a ton of assets.
Sure.
In draft picks. I mean, a historical level of draft picks. 4 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps, correct? Like,
it was
pick swap.
4 unprotecteds and 1 protected first-round pick. They'll translate into more picks if it gets past the protection.
Yeah, and 2 serviceable players so long as they can stay healthy.
Right.
But can we talk about OKC for a second? They've done fucking nothing wrong, and all they've done is draft and develop players that go and succeed everywhere the fuck else in the NBA.
I think
pain in the dick.
I think you have to look and blame this on Westbrook more or less. That's the biggest reason why they don't know where he's going to go. He had Durant, he had Harden, he had George. Where did all these people go? As far the hell away from him as possible, because nobody can play with him. It's not like Harden. People can play with Harden. People can play with Durant. People can deal with those personalities. But there is something about Russell Westbrook that no one wants to and can play with. And I just don't understand what it is, because we don't see the behind the locker room or inside the locker room scenario. But nobody can or wants to play. They developed an amazing point guard. I would argue one of the best in the game still today, but literally nobody wants to play with him. So that speaks volumes to the player versus a team.
He should go and play with LeBron or Jimmy Butler. We've said that already. That would be just a reality TV show. I don't remember which one of you guys said that pre-recording, but yeah, that's 100% correct.
That was me.
It would be reality TV. My loser is actually a team that LJ had responded to in the ANYP chat as his winner, and actually I find both reasons to be very credible to this point. I don't know if you can agree with both sides, but I kind of do. But I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz. So here's a team that it was very good last year, 4th or 5th seed out there. They're not like the sexiest of teams or rosters, but they're just everything fits. I almost kind of liken them to like a Detroit Pistons in the terms of like who is that sexy over there that is a true bona fide superstar. They just have like, very B-level talent players that fit together. They made some really nice acquisitions. And when you sit there and you look in the grand scheme of what the West is, what they're going to have to continue to compete against, I just feel like it's just still not enough. And for a city that's not really a destination city such as an LA or a New York or Brooklyn, as we're saying now, or even Boston or Philly, Houston, like who the fuck is beating the door down to go join the goddamn Jazz on purpose? So as nice as of the moves that they made, and I still think they're going to be a really good basketball team, I just think it's just not going to be enough to get the job done out there in the West. And I think it's a damn shame. But that is my loser because I feel as though they're about to be like a perennial 3 seed and never see an NBA championship.
I would agree with that. I like the Jazz moves exactly like you said, and I don't mind the team. It's not a team you can say you hate. There's never been a reason to hate that team, but they're one of those teams that's stuck in mediocrity. I just don't think that they're going to get that difference maker player that puts them over the top. So I can see them as a winner. I can see them as a loser, but I think they're more or less a loser based on the fact that they're stuck in that mediocrity, kind of similar to where the Pistons seem to be going right now.
Yeah, that's a good comp for East-West comp there. All right, so let's move to, there's been seemingly shocking move or decision after shocking move and decision so far throughout this period of time, whether it be big or whether it be small. So let's go to the East first again. Connor, we'll shift it back to you. What was one of the most shocking moves for you?
I have a couple. I got the Durant to the Nets because that was something I didn't see. I mean, if we take out the Twitter rumors and everything that was going around, did we really see Durant to the Nets as a viable option?
Yes.
I didn't. I personally didn't fully believe it, even when Kyrie was going there. But obviously, you knew he was going to go looking for a star. That one kind of surprised me when it happened. My biggest surprise as a Sixers fan was the Butler sign and trade. We were all convinced we needed Butler, and that was the way to go. And he wanted to be in Philly. We wanted him in Philly. It was like a match made in heaven. And suddenly, bam, he comes out, drops the Butler bomb. Screw the Woj bomb. He dropped a Butler bomb on us. And he basically said that he wanted his own team. And he wanted to more or less be stuck in mediocrity forever and never win himself a championship. It was more or less what he said when he said, I want my own team and I don't want egos. Egos exist and you need egos. He knew when he came to Philadelphia that he was going to be stuck behind Simmons and behind
fucking spoiler alert. It's the MB fucking A. The 13th player on benches has a goddamn ego. This is what the NBA is.
He was.
Who the fuck's he gonna play with?
Jimmy Butler was
Send
behind
his ass Westbrook.
Jimmy Butler was behind McConnell, for God's sake. So our fan base loved McConnell probably more than we loved Butler, but we wanted Butler. We knew we thought we needed Butler. And so that was a shocking move, especially the way he did it, saying that they'd say rumors of that there was egos and rumors of he didn't feel like he fit in and all this stuff. It just came as a complete shock because you didn't expect that from Jimmy Butler. So that came as a massive shock to me.
Yeah, I think that came to as a bit of a shock. I think up until the day before when it became kind of a talked about reality, then you started to feel less and less confident by the minute. But yeah, certainly leading up to the day of, maybe day before free agency, officially hit. And when everyone else outside of the nerd that is Elton Brand was leaking rumors as to what was going on, it was something we didn't necessarily have to fear. And then all of a sudden we did. Rob, let's go to you.
First of all, you just call Elton Brand a nerd.
Hell yeah, I called him a nerd.
That's hilarious. I just when you said that, I visualized that that video of Travis Konechny calling Malkin a nerd at the outdoor game. Nerd.
Yeah, well, I went to chirp school with Travis. He's a good kid.
All right, so my most shocking move, it's not a move, it's actually a lack of moves, and it's the New York Knicks missing out on just about everybody. Well, actually, literally everybody. I mean, you have the most popular team in the biggest market in North America, and they didn't get anybody. They didn't get Kawhi. They didn't get PG. They didn't get Kyrie. They didn't get Durant. Durant did go to New York, but it's the other team, and he went to Brooklyn, and so did Kyrie. They missed out on everybody. That's like, I know they're a really poorly run organization. I know James Dolan has had his head up his ass for his whole entire life, and he's mismanaged them to the point of they've literally been the worst team in basketball forever now. But missing out on everybody, that was shocking to me.
I agree. I think it's so inexcusable at this point. Like James Dolan, the video of him when he was telling off that fan, the organization in general, like without James Dolan, you would have probably got some of those free agents. At the end of the day, it all comes back. They're making up excuses. They're saying they feared Durant's injury. Yeah, but why wouldn't you try and set up a meeting? At least get the meeting. It's Kevin Durant. You're the New York Knicks. You have nothing. You traded Porzingis. You have nothing. And it's just so sad that they're making up excuses and they're acting like, we made the decision not to meet with these people. This is our decision. This is where we want to go. No, this is James Dolan holding this team prisoner and completely destroying this team.
Yeah, it's similar to a situation that the Sixers had with Ed Snyder, where Ed Snyder was clearly a Flyers guy and didn't really care much about the Sixers, but James Dolan was so much worse. I mean, he can't even win with the Rangers first off, but the way that he's mismanaged the Knicks up there, it's unbelievable. Given, like I said, you have the biggest market in North America, and the best that he could do during his tenure there is get Carmelo Anthony and have like one 50-win season where they were kind of a contender, but not really. And then after that, Carmelo left, and they've been god awful ever since then.
All right, let's set this right now. Where would you guys put the over/under on the number of years it takes the Knicks to get back to the playoffs? They haven't been there since 2013, I believe.
Back to the playoffs, I would say 5, just because I see them maybe sneaking in as like an 8 seed.
Under on that.
I'll set it at 5.
Yeah, I would agree with 5, because as much as we're bashing the Knicks, I mean, they don't have the worst pieces. They have some upside pieces that just haven't been able to find that upside. So, I mean, you put the right pieces, you never know, but it is the New York Knicks. It is James Dolan. So, I mean, I'll probably I'd actually take the over on that.
They'll sneak in as like an 8 seed within the next like 5 or 6 years.
I just don't see the East as super strong. Like,
that's why I see them sneaking in as an 8 seed.
I could see them 6 to 8 somewhere in the next. I would say 3 to 5 years. They could conceivably get back to the playoffs, maybe. But
that might be best case scenario in my eyes, and then we should probably stop ranting about how much we all hate the Knicks. But if they get stuck in that like 8 to 6 spot in the East, where you're just Mr. Irrelevant forever, you don't get a good draft pick, you can't rebuild, no one.
Sixers are familiar with that.
You. Oh, absolutely. But
yeah, it's like the Sixers from 2003 until the lockout year, 2013 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and it's miserable going through that. So, good luck. You're up for that, Knicks fans. It's your turn.
All right, let's shift over to the West here. Scott, your most shocking move. Sorry, I forgot what the hell category we were on there for a second.
D'Angelo Russell to the Warriors.
Fuck you. You took mine, so now I have it back.
Oh, no, good. We're thinking the same page here. So I was sitting here, skimming through my computer, looking at all the trades and stuff that went. No one talked about how ridiculous of a move that was.
It's
D'Angelo Russell,
so stupid.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand how he's going to fit in. I mean, Clay's not going to play for the first half of the year foreseeably. There's rumors that D'Angelo Russell's going to get traded at some point, which also makes no sense. I don't think he particularly fits in with the Warriors. That's why it's so shocking to me. I don't get it. I fully do not understand the trade at all from either side, but it happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was just trying to gain any type of asset for the loss of KD, and to be able to facilitate that. Okay, like fine. I also think that gave Durant the ability to sign for the full max, because I feel like one of them weren't going to be able to for trading into space. But I don't know. I could be wrong there. But regardless, it's a move that makes no fucking sense for Golden State for what the on-court product's going to be. It's basically just a half-season rental. It's basically like a Charlie Morton signing for the Phillies, hoping to God he doesn't blow out his hamstring and then come back to be one of the best pitchers in baseball for Houston. They're basically hoping that D'Angelo Russell performs well enough that they can flip him for something else. And
I think he's a stud, man. I really do. I think he really showed his true colors last year. He was great, as much as I, hated seeing him, torture the Sixers a little bit in the playoffs there. But
dude, he intrigued me as a piece that was, rumored to the Sixers, throughout the offseason. That I hated the idea at first, and I hated it. I realized the reason I hated it was for the reasons you just mentioned. I was like, damn, his game's coming along. Like, he's still a little reckless. He's still got that, young invincibility about him and kind of cocky, airish. But damn, I do think that, he would have been a nice fit, here in Philadelphia. So,
and I'm going to pose a quick kind of question to you guys off of this then. Who would you rather have, Kemba Walker or D'Angelo Russell?
Kemba for sure. Kemba has I find Kemba's game is just more polished. You get no drama out of him. He seems to have like no personality, or not a personality that you see shining out as a star. I find he's got a good shot. He can make plays happen for himself and for his team. D'Angelo, he's just not there.
I don't know, man. I'd take D'Angelo. I feel like there's his offense is certainly, like, he's not going to put up 25, 28 a night like Kemba could potentially do on a consistent basis. But Kemba was also the only thing that mattered in his former franchise and city. Like, that was literally it. We've now seen in two different major markets how D'Angelo Russell attempts to fit in. And I would take that as a more complete game. And he's going to be a better defensive player, which is all the Sixers are really going for. And he's lengthier. So he fits the exact mold of the 76ers. So y'all are fucking crazy taking Kemba over D'Angelo.
Yeah, if your wingspan's not 6'10" or higher, get the fuck out. We can't use you here in Philadelphia.
Oh, all right. So my most shocking move here, since you took mine, Scott, I'm going to go with one. I'm going to keep it in the Golden State neighborhood here. I am going to say the attention to the rafters. Why the fuck are they sitting there and retiring KD and Iguodala's numbers? I love Andre Iguodala. Don't get me wrong, and I think that he was a major that move and acquisition for Dre to go to Golden State did change. Like, that had so much more of an impact on the NBA than people will give that credit for. To me, it's still not like, let's put his jersey in the rafter. Get the fuck out of here. He was just a guy that just helped be the glue for an incredibly talented offensive juggernaut of a team that rewrote what basketball is now. Like, thank you, Dre. But they should have never just shipped his ass out the way they did. But fuck it. Yeah, so to me, I'm going to take my most shocking move is why the fuck they're paying so much attention to the jerseys in the rafters, hanging two jerseys that don't belong there. Fuck KD. I love Dre, but fuck KD.
To me, the players are irrelevant, right? You can't. It's really a weird move to retire a player's jersey who just left the city, where you traded away. Like, it's a very weird move, unless some unforeseeable accident happens and God forbid someone dies, like Skaggs just
totally
did,
different.
In Angels, they should retire his jersey, and that absolutely should happen. Not when you just trade someone or they abandon your city. Like, you can't just retire numbers. That's
stupid.
It's such a weird move. Yeah, that's not the reason to retire someone's number.
Yeah, certainly not. So our next category, we'll keep this one short, so we won't kind of interject unless anyone has something overly brilliant to say on this one. But it kind of goes in line with what that last category was. But here, an underrated and kind of sneaky good move by any of the organizations on the Eastern and Western Conference. We'll start with the guys over on the East. We'll go to Rob first. You got any sneaky or underrated moves that we haven't really discussed at this point?
I think a really underrated move in the Eastern Conference is Malcolm Brogdon going to the Indiana Pacers.
If he can stay healthy, I agree.
If he can stay healthy, yes. And he was a key player for Milwaukee, and for them to lose him first off is a big deal, because that's a team that's contending to win the Eastern Conference title. That's a team that's going to be right up there with the Sixers. So for them to lose him to the Pacers, and the Pacers obviously hopefully getting healthy with Oladipo coming back and adding Brogdon to the mix there, that's a big thing, because the Pacers are a good team. The Pacers, with a healthy Malcolm Brogdon, could be right up there with the Sixers and the Bucks atop the Eastern Conference. So that's an underrated move that hasn't been talked about a whole lot, and I think that's one that could make a big impact in the East.
I dig that thought. Connor, we'll go to you.
I know we're bashing the Knicks a lot, but I'm going to go with the Julius Randle signing to the Knicks. I think his breakout season in New Orleans is not just a one-hit wonder thing. I think he's got a lot more to give, and he's a really underrated player in the NBA in general. I would have loved to have had him in Philadelphia, but at the end of the day, the Knicks obviously were willing to throw their entire salary cap that they had at Julius Randle, which he's probably not worth the amount he got, but he is an underrated player. And I think he's going to have a great season, great 3 seasons with the Knicks. And I think he's still got so much to give and so much talent.
Yeah, I kind of dig that one. And I do think that that's the perfect scenario for a guy like him, coming off of his first real breakout complete season, and now he's going to get the opportunity to be pretty much the only one that matters in New York outside of Barrett. But, nice call.
I thought we were going to be able to sneak through the entire podcast without mentioning Julius Randle. That's the only antithesis to any point I've given all day. I agree. I think he's a good signing. That was a good move for them.
Yeah, for sure. We'll kick it over to the West now. Scott, let's go with an underrated or a sneaky good move for you for any of our Western Conference teams.
So this is literally just sneaky. Kyle Kuzma pulled a very sneaky move by kissing LeBron's ass last year once he was on the trading block. And so there were rumors going around that the only reason Kuzma didn't get traded was because LeBron liked him and would not let the Lakers include him in the deal. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it's a fun narrative for me to believe in. Good for you, Kyle Kuzma. He's a very exciting young player.
It's also hilarious on Twitter.
Oh, he's great. I like Kuz a lot. He's exciting. It's one of the few Lakers guys that I do kind of root for a little bit when I get out to a couple games every year. And guess what? He's now, going to be a huge piece of a Lakers team with LeBron, AD, and they're going to be going for potentially an NBA championship. I mean, I know we've been bashing LeBron a lot here and saying that we don't like AD and stuff, but they're 2 power players in the NBA. If they can stay healthy, they really do have a chance to make it pretty far into the playoffs and potentially fight for a championship. So good for you, Kyle Kuzma. Keep playing that sneaky game out there. You got to do it.
It's the only way to kind of exist and survive the LeBron era of basketball if you're going to be tied to him on a roster, because, again, he is a total tool. Fuck that guy. I'm going to say that as many times as I can on this pod. Like I didn't sit there and be completely on board with the 3 billboards that we had last year for him. Hilarious. Yeah, but yeah, fuck that guy. So I already mentioned it earlier, so I won't touch into it too much. It wasn't an offseason move, but it was a midseason thing last year for the Clippers. But again, acquiring those picks from, and assets from the 76ers in the Tobias Harris deal that, enabled them to not be completely depleted going after Paul George. And look, being able to keep Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, getting Mo Harkless, then obviously the 2 superstars, and then keeping the, that bench sniper in Landry Shamet there, the, acquired player piece of that deal. Just so underratedly good by that front office over there. So really, really solid work by them. So we'll kind of sneak our last, or I think they're our last 2, for the most part, our last 2 points on this first section here. But we're going to go to the East for a most immediate impact offseason move. and then we're going to go for a team that you guys believe are probably the most believable in terms of someone that's going to be atop the power seedings for the Eastern Conference. So, Connor, we'll start with you.
My most immediate impact player is Jimmy Butler with Miami Heat. I think they lost Wade. They knew they had to find a replacement. They knew Richardson was young and that he wasn't going to be the one to make that significant of leap anytime soon. So Jimmy Butler to the Heat has to be that most immediate impact. He's going to be that Wade-like player. He's going to be that guy who can hit the shots for you. He plays some pretty strong defense. He's all alone there in Miami, so he definitely needs some support. But I do believe he will have the most immediate impact in the East.
All right, and Rob, will go to you.
The most immediate impact in the East for me is the Raptors losing Kawhi Leonard. Like I said before, I've said it a couple times actually, he's the best player in the NBA. So when you lose the best player in the NBA, obviously your team is going to be a lot worse off for it. And they didn't have time really to find an adequate replacement for him. So they're really going to be suffering for losing Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, well, there is no kind of rebounding from losing the best player in the world and being left with no other options and being Toronto that no one wants to fucking go to. So enjoy that one championship. It'll be the one that you'll have for quite some time. And then let's go with just real quick, just give us a team that you guys most believe will be, a perennial 1, 2, 3 seed in the East. We'll start with you, Rob.
Got to be the Sixers. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, two of the best young stars in all of basketball. You got Tobias Harris in the mix. You got Al Horford in there. You got Josh Richardson now. This is a really good team, and they've got a lot of young talent. You got obviously the veteran in Al Horford, but aside from him, it's just a really young, talented basketball team. A whole bunch of guys, even Embiid and Simmons haven't hit their peak yet. So that's a scary thought because Embiid is already the best center in all basketball. The fact that he hasn't hit his peak yet, that's a scary thought for the rest of the NBA. And I know I'm coming off as a complete homer because obviously I am a Sixers fan, but I'm just, even objectively, even looking at this objectively, the Sixers have the brightest future, I think, of any team in the NBA. So,
Jesus.
Yes, they're going to be a perennial 1, 2, 3 seed for, I think, at least the next 5 or 6 years, and hopefully longer than that.
Man, that is some extreme positivity from the homer over there that is Rob. I do dig it, and I'm on that wavelength with you, man. So I am your passenger in the first front seat of the bus that you are driving in this one. So well done with that. Connor, let's not be a homer here. Give us another team.
Well, mine was the Sixers as well.
Of course it was.
I guess I'll flip sides. I also think the Indiana Pacers are really close.
Yes,
I think. I mean, I put in mind like sign Jamal Crawford, get another shooter, get some more depth at the guard positions. You realize how important it was after the loss of Oladipo last year. I even have put down if the price is right to go and Gordon Hayward continues to struggle in his position in Boston, maybe go after him. Maybe he can be a fit in Indiana. He missed a full year for Boston. He hasn't really produced to the extent that they thought he would or that he was producing at in Utah.
He's too attractive. That's the problem.
Exactly. So
he's white. He's got perfect hair, goofy ass eyebrow. Like he's just too attractive. It's really unfortunate. There's just no room for that in the NBA. There's just no room for an attractive white guy in the NBA.
I just think that the Indiana Pacers they're underrated. People think they're going to be stuck in mediocrity, but I think they're a couple pieces away if they can get it from being a team that is a perennial 1, 2, 3 seed if they're not already there. But that thing is that getting that player that'll put you from that perennial 1, 2, 3 to that perennial championship team. And whereas the Sixers seem to have all those pieces minus, I think, a shooter, a true shooter, i.e. Kyle Korver, Jamal Crawford. I mean, you can look in the direction of the Pacers. They got a lot of pieces. They got the big man. They got some good young big men. They got Victor Oladipo. They got some really great pieces. And they're just another star or really strong piece and a strong piece and a depth piece away from being a perennial team at 1, 2, 3 or even championship team.
I'm so glad the Pacers are getting love in this podcast today because they are in one of my question responses later. Dig the Pacers. Think they're going to be a really, really good team. Scott, we'll go to the West here. Why don't you give us? You can give us both answers in the same response here. But your immediate impact player or move, and then your next kind of dynasty to represent the West.
It's not a surprising play here, but I mean, Kawhi Leonard is the best player in the NBA right now. He clearly changes the entire dynamic of the West by entering it. He makes the Clippers, who were unbelievably good last year when they just kept giving away pieces already. And then on top of that, now they bring him and Paul George in. I mean, they're now favored to win the championship. I mean, there's not too much more to be said because I've probably read no less than 50 articles in the last 2 days about the topic. So everyone is writing about this, and rightfully so. I mean, Kawhi Leonard deserves his time. And I mean, he's clearly going to just impact the West so much here. They're excited, or the West is excited, and oddly enough, LA is there are not that many Clippers fans that I know out here. They're almost exclusively Lakers fans, but a lot of people are jumping fences here already. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Yeah,
definitely.
Lakers.
Yeah. Fuck LeBron.
Yeah. So then I'm gonna pick a weird team to watch here, because they didn't do anything really. But the Denver Nuggets, so they're
good, man.
Last year, they're great. Jokic is just so fucking good. Does anyone remember there was a Trailblazers Nuggets game last year that went like 57 overtimes, and Jokic played like every single minute of the entire game. Yeah, couldn't even walk by the end of it, but he was still making shots and impacting the game. They didn't need to make any moves, and the reason I think they get better now is we're entering an era where it's not a power three anymore or a super team. It's dynamic duos that are running everything now. So the fact that they have a great starting lineup here, like it's him, it got Jamal Murray, like I think they extended Paul Millsap's contract. Gary Harris isn't bad either. Like, I mean, just have a lot of like very good guys. They're not an exciting team. And weirdly enough too, they picked up Bol, who was like a complete stud before he broke his leg in college basketball. So it's exciting to have him out there. I mean, I think they're going to be atop the West for the next 3 to 4 years, and they didn't even do anything. It's kind of crazy.
I actually love that because they were not on my board because they haven't filled up, the articles that we all read and the tweets that all come in. But they were a really good team, and they're another team, not unlike the Jazz, that just they fit so well together. Their styles of play, they all buy in. They're deep, from their starting rotation to each of their sizable rotations that they put out there. They're just a really, really complete team. And then, look, the sexiest piece over there is an ugly white guy, which goes to show you how important it is to be ugly and white in the NBA to be successful.
Game changer.
So it is a game changer, which means all of us, except for Scott, could fit in. All right, so I'm going to go with you went with the Kawhi move. I'm going to go with the PG trade. I say that because I genuinely do have a doubt that if Kawhi did not have the assurance that another star, Paul George, would be joining him over there, I feel like that may not have happened. I don't know that he would have went to the Lakers. I still say that despite all of the additional reports that have come out, I believe that Kawhi would have taken a short-term deal in Toronto and tried to continue to be the powerhouse of the East and, just kind of coast to the finals, for the next 2-3 years. But to me, the most important thing that happened was acquiring that star to go with him. So I'm going to take that. And then the next dynasty for me, I kind of hinted at it earlier. I'm going to go with the Pelicans, man. I just think that with the amount of assets that they have, it was just, they're going to be so fucking exciting, and it's crazy because if those ping pong balls do not fall the way that they do, I don't think that we're having this conversation. I don't know that there's nothing exciting about acquiring 3 players who were kind of underwhelming in LA, but when you pair them with a Zion, suddenly there's interest there again. There's intrigue there. I don't know that it's going to be immediate. I think that maybe next year or the year after. But I do think that team has a chance to be very, very good and be top 2 or 3 in the West for a long time, because they're all going to grow up together, and they're going to have a really, really good leader out there in Drew Holiday and JJ Redick, as a really smart vet to kind of be that perfect blend of aging vets and talented vets, and then young guys who just don't know they're not supposed to be as good as they are. So they're an interesting team for me. Let's go to buyout predictions. If we each have one or two, we can share them. We'll start with the East. This does not have to be exclusive to the East, by the way. If you were struggling with that, it doesn't really matter. There's so many players and potential trades right now that could happen. Let's just get some theorizing going on here. Connor, we'll start with you.
Well, for me, it wasn't really so much a buyout option as much as it was a trade option. I kind of saw the rumors starting recently. Russell Westbrook to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I kind of see it. I kind of see the fit. I mean, I don't find Cat has a massive ego, but you do have Wiggins at your
lazy as hell.
Lazy, but I mean, you have Wiggins at your disposal to put in the trade plus pieces. Although if the asking price is, I mean, they were looking to the Raptors for Paul George and Westbrook, but if the deal for Westbrook is a plethora of picks and swap picks for the next 10 years, I'm not sure they're going to find someone willing to make that deal. But I think the big one, the big buyout or the big trade to watch for me is Russell Westbrook. I also see some people talking about the Heat, which I do not see Butler and Westbrook working at all.
Neither do I, so let's make it happen.
But we're rooting for it, yeah.
All the more, all the better, and I just don't think they have the assets. I mean, if you had a Hassan Whiteside still, you might have had the opportunity to have an asset to send, but when you moved him and you moved
Richardson, don't have fucking money.
Exactly.
You need to absorb $40 fucking million. The Heat are not in the question.
He makes so much money.
They all do in the NBA. It's absurd.
Exactly, and I've also seen the Pistons also rumored in there, which kind of makes sense. I don't hate the thought of the Pistons and Blake Griffin and him, but I mean, I think he's the biggest one to watch as far as the trade goes, and I'm intrigued to see where he ends up, because I don't think he ends up in OKC next year.
Yeah, I think that the chances of him on the opening day roster for OKC is about 0% right now. They will find a way to make that work. But I do think it's going to be another, really kind of landscape changing type of thing, because with $40 million and no one with the cap to absorb that, there's going to be third teams involved. So it'll be interesting to follow. Rob, we'll go to you.
My biggest potential buyout thing is Kyle Korver. He is now property of the Phoenix Suns. I think that he's going to get bought out, and if he does, I could very well see him returning to Philadelphia, because the Sixers need that three-point shooter off the bench.
And it works because he's ugly.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yes, Kyle Korver getting bought out by Phoenix, coming back, having a return to Philly. Fans still love him here. I think that he would be a good fit because, like I said, they need that three-point shooter now that JJ Redick is down in New Orleans. So that's the most likely buyout scenario that I see playing out.
I would dig a Korver return, to Philadelphia. I think that'd be interesting. And again, primarily because he's ugly and white, no matter what all of the females who followed him when he was 19 years old or 20 years old with the Sixers the first go around. But Scott, we'll go to you. We'll go to a buyout option or a trade prediction or something of the sorts.
I'm first just going to echo real quick on that. I would love to have K squared back in
K squared
in Philly. Yeah, K squared equals 3, baby.
You are a nerd.
Let him grow the shaggy hair out too. Like we might need him back, and I may have to go buy a Kyle Korver jersey if that happens. So then just to stick on the homer train here, because I haven't been too much of a homer today. I mean, Andre Iguodala is.
Oh, I hate you so much right now.
Yeah, I knew you would. So I had to steal it from you. Andre Iguodala is in Memphis, where players go to die and everyone feels bad for him. He's going to get bought out. It's a matter of when. And
they're trying to trade him.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully hopefully he doesn't get traded, and hopefully he just gets bought out and gets to pick where he goes. And I mean, preferably we'd all like to see him back in Philadelphia, but he'll realistically end up probably on one of the LA teams or for the Warriors or something like that again. But his number's retired in the for the Warriors though. So can he wear his own number? That's a weird question.
I don't know.
Oh, I want him to go back to Golden State now. I'm excited about this.
There you go. We'll add decimals now. It'll just be 9.1. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, my guy was Iguodala too, and the homer in me said I would love the return of Andre Iguodala because Philadelphia now is hilariously in love with the man after basically loathing him for the entire duration of his second fucking contract, as if any of us would have not signed a max contract when offered to us when he did. Like, get the hell out of here. That guy caught so much shit here in Philadelphia. But realistically, he is most certainly going to go out west. His desires, and if you guys haven't read his book, you should pick it up. It's pretty fantastic, The Sixth Man. It's pretty clear that he is certainly nearing the end of his NBA run, and he's got his hand in so many different businesses and, everything in Silicon Valley out there. He's going to end up with one of the LAs. Could see him going back to Golden State, but I think more realistically he'll be one of LeBron's guys, and then he'll retire because he's going to hate life playing for that jackass. But yeah, Iguodala probably going out west. All right, Scott, you already gave us one of your interesting storylines to follow this year. We're going to start with the West this time. Give us an interesting storyline that you have now with the landscape changed so dramatically here in this off season.
Let's see. To me, the Russell Westbrook storyline is extremely interesting because it's a guy that averages a triple-double every year. And no one wants to play with him, and he has nowhere to play. So it's got to be the weirdest thing in sports, right? When one of the 5 best players in the league can't find anyone to play with, can't find anywhere to play. No one is welcoming him. He's just throwing fits over there in Oklahoma City. What is going to happen to him? I can't wait to see where he ends up.
Yeah, I would. That'll be a fun couple week story to follow for sure. Mine will continue to be, I want to see who's the next player or coach to die at the hands of that jackass LeBron. So that one for me will be at least for the remainder of his career at this point, which I don't think will end in LA. I think he's got one more stop, possibly back to Miami or something. But that'll be the storyline for me. Maybe Kuz is not going to enjoy it, and he's going to wish like hell that he stayed on that side so that he could have been part of the awesome and up-and-coming New Orleans Pelicans. Connor or Rob? Well, fuck it. We'll start with you, Connor. Give us a storyline that you're excited to follow.
The storyline in the East that I'm most excited to follow is how far and how fast the fall from championship glory is for the Toronto Raptors. I do not think that I even would go as far as say I don't think they even make the playoffs. There's some good young teams at the bottom who I think they're going to be fighting for the 7-8 seed with, and could very well end up out depending on what those teams fighting at the 6, 7, 8 seed do throughout the season, because I just don't think anyone wants to end up in Toronto as much as I love Canada. We're just not that hotbed destination for anything. So that's the storyline I'm looking to follow and for the East.
Dig it. And Rob, yourself?
I was going to go with the Raptors as well, but now I'm actually going to go with Jimmy Butler down in Miami. I'm really interested to see how things play out for him down there. Can he single-handedly get the Miami Heat back into the playoffs as a lower seed, like a 6, 7, 8 seed? How is his stat line going to be effective? Going to be affected? How is he going to do in terms of attracting other star players to Miami? That's going to be a really interesting thing to see unfold down there in South Beach.
Yeah, I agree. The Jimmy Butler thing for certain will be incredibly interesting because he's also an unlikable player to play with, and I don't care how much I enjoyed him in Philadelphia. He's a jackass now. All right, so let's rapid fire these last few points here as Connor has some TV watching to do with his lady. So Rapid fire. This is the order we'll go in. We'll go Connor, then we'll go Rob, and then we'll go Scott, and then we'll bring it back to me, and then I'll introduce the next topic as well. So rapid fire here. Biggest threat to the 76ers in the Eastern Conference, and the biggest threat to them in the Western Conference. Connor.
I got the Bucks and the Pacers. I got the Bucks because they're basically running it back with Wesley Matthews, who provides shooting depth, and Robin Lopez, who provides pretty solid.
How did we not talk about Lopez?
Pretty solid
how did we not touch
bench depth. Exactly. Like the two brothers playing together. Come on. How did we not think of that? And then I put the Pacers because healthy Oladipo, Brogdon, they brought in Jeremy Lamb, our favorite cheerleader, McConnell. They got tremendous depth, and I think they're going to be a huge threat to the Sixers in the East. In the West, I think it's the usual. I think the Warriors are being underrated. I still think that they're a depth, or that they're a threat. But because of the LA teams, you got to go with the LA Clippers and the LA Lakers as the biggest threats in the West.
All right, I like that. And Rob, go to you.
I'm basically going to simplify Connor's answer. I'm going to say the Bucks in the East, just because Giannis, however you want to pronounce it.
Giannis. Don't forget.
Whatever. All right, Giannis is a freak of nature. I think that he, after Kawhi, he's the second best all-around basketball player. And Brook Lopez is what do you mean how?
I mean how, because the world hates Ben Simmons for not being able to shoot, and Giannis can't shoot a fucking basketball either. He's just more willing.
That's exactly it, because the threat of him shooting a three, and yes, he can knock them down.
Don't fear the threat of Giannis. Damn.
He can knock them down every once in a while, and at least the threat. Okay, all right, well, come on. At least the threat of him knocking down a three is enough to draw the defense out to cover him out there. And you know what happens when they do that? He beats him to the basket. He scores that way. So, yes, Giannis is the second best player in the NBA. Because of that,
I love it.
The Bucks will be the biggest threat in the Eastern Conference to the 76ers. Also, Brook Lopez, the best reclamation project in the NBA. In recent history, he developed a three-point shot out of nowhere, which was crazy because he was actually one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA last year.
Was he really?
Yeah, statistically, I think he is like top 10 or something like that.
It's awesome. Ridiculous how good he was last year.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere because he never had a three-point shot before, and now he suddenly has one, and he completely reinvented himself as a player. So because of him, because Giannis, the biggest threat in the Eastern Conference to the Sixers is the Milwaukee Bucks. And in the Western Conference, I'm dumbing it down once again. I'm going simply the LA Clippers because Kawhi Leonard is the best basketball player in the world. And PG is one of the top 10 basketball players in the world. Because of those two, they had the best offseason out of anybody. And that was already a good team. That was already an 8-seed playoff team out there that won a couple games against Golden State. Signing those two guys puts them over the top. They're the best team in the Western Conference and the biggest threat to the 76ers.
Yeah, I think we're all going to have that team in there for the West. I love the fact that your Giannis take got me so heated, by the way. They are a damn good team. Fuck. Which is making me currently rethink mine. So, Scott, we'll go to you.
I'm going to pick exactly the same thing here. The Bucks are the biggest threat to the Sixers in the East. And just to hit one point we haven't talked about yet, Nikola Mirotic went back to the EuroLeague. What?
Yeah, I have no idea why.
Why would you leave the NBA? Like, is he going to make more money? Like, I don't.
Healthcare. He was tired of waiting for 8 minutes.
But yeah, the Bucks are unbelievable. Giannis can literally dunk from the 3-point line, so it doesn't matter if he can shoot or not. And then out west, I mean, I would love to sit here and say, oh yeah, CJ McCollum and the Trailblazers, they're the biggest, rival to the Sixers out of the West. No, it's the Clippers. They're incredible. I mean, let's add in a little touch here that Sweet Lou Williams is still coming off the bench as the best sixth man in basketball.
I fucking hate
22 points a game, and he comes off the bench. Unbelievable. The Clippers are the best team in the West.
I will say this about the Blazers, though. Dame Lillard's the most underrated superstar in the NBA.
Agreed. Yeah. He signed to a max deal, a super max, actually. He definitely deserved it. So.
Yeah, for sure. Hated Lou Williams as a Sixer, by the way. I have to get that in there. Fucking
We all
hated it.
did, yeah.
What a maddening basketball player, but damn it, I would welcome his ass back right now. um, but I'm going to go different just for the sake of being different here, just to not be overly repetitive. I'm going to go with Indiana, which was I thought that I was the only one sitting here thinking that Indiana was going to be as good as I think that they're going to be. But you've all now said positive things about the Indiana fucking Pacers. So apparently I am not like some new age thinking human. I think the same as all of you. But for all of the reasons that we've discussed in this podcast, I think the Indiana Pacers serve as one of the biggest threats to the 76ers in the East. And then out west, I'm going to go second. I've been sitting here just talking my mess on the Pelicans, man. And I think that you're going to see a super, super fast and athletic offensively gifted team going up against a super, super fast, athletically gifted defensive-minded team. And I think that the two are going to clash. And I think that you're going to have really, really, really good games for the next 3-5 years for whenever the Sixers meet up against the Pelicans. And if we have to play them in an NBA Finals, I will be so fucking excited. It will be such a good series. But they, for me, are the biggest threat to the Sixers in the West. Next, TJ and Bobby. So, yes, we will continue to call the podcast TJ is one of us because he will forever remain one of us. And at some point, I am pretty certain that he will find his way back to Philadelphia in some capacity for the 76ers, and the fans loved him. We all loved our favorite cheerleader, as Connor said, in TJ McConnell. And then we all loved Boban Marjanovic because of all the reasons that Rob always said. He's a goofy looking guy, and he's got a hell of a personality, and we love the Toby and Bobby show.
And he can dunk without jumping.
Which is still
And he's
awesome.
got an IMDb page now. So
I know.
There's that.
Yeah. Certainly he acted, and he was the better actor in that film. Good for him. First day on the job, better actor than Keanu. But so the next TJ or Bobby for the 76ers, so the next person that the fans will absolutely be elated for every single time they see him on court or on the bench. Assuming we're all picking Mike Scott, I went a little different. So I will start this one. I think that it is going to be Zaire Smith. I've been watching him in Summer League because I have no life right now, and I've been overly excited about him. And I have told Scott, your brother, at a family wedding that we were recently at, I said that I think that he is eventually going to be a top 7 player in the NBA. I may have said that he would be a top 7 player this year because I was just, having fun at a wedding. But I do think that eventually he's going to be a very, very, very good basketball player. And I see him on a Kawhi-like run in terms of his development. His calling cards are very similar, and the things he's needed to work on are very similar. So I see some similarities. So in my head, it works. And I think the fans are going to fucking love him because he's a light-skinned black guy who's pretty fucking attractive. So for me, I'm going with Zaire. Scott, who you got?
I'm going for Shake.
Yes.
Best name in basketball.
Absolutely. And, I just to kind of hit a crazy transition here, I saw a clip the other day of him talking about Zaire Smith and just saying, oh, yeah, that's my boy. I'm real proud of him, real proud of what he's doing. As if he's been fathering the team all along and wasn't in the D-League last year. I love that take. I love the maturity he's showing. I think that we're going to really love seeing him come off the bench, and he's going to get the crowd real into it. Plus, when you have a name like Shake, how can the city not love you? There's got to be some crazy memes coming out and stuff. So, yeah, it's got to be Shake.
I dig it. I don't know. He wasn't even on my top 3. I'm so disappointed in myself right now. And I love Shake.
Eventually the fan base is going to create a dance move out after him or something like that.
For sure.
So white,
it certainly will not be the white people, but, Yeah.
When you have a name like Shake, it's bound to happen at some point.
For sure. Let's just wait and see what he does on the court, and he's going to give us content, is all I'm saying. We're going to fucking love him. Rob, we'll go to you.
I'm going to do exactly what you thought I was going to do. I'm going to go with Mike Scott. He won over the fan base last year, and he made it clear as day that he wants to be a part of this, the future of the 76ers, and he wants to be here in Philadelphia. And I think that because of that, the fans are going to kind of reciprocate that love. And he's a big personality. He's a character. He goes on social media, makes outlandish comments and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the fans here are going to love Mike Scott.
For sure. Over under on how many drinks from the crowd he has this year? What are we setting that at, Rob?
I'll set the over under at. I'm gonna go 5 for that as well.
5 for that as well.
Ooh, wow.
All right, man. That's just for my own amusement. I'm gonna take the fucking over. I hope it happens every night. But I think he plays better if he's a little buzzed. He's got those. Oh, fuck him. I love him, but good for you setting that at 5. Connor, we'll roll to you. Your next TJ Bobby.
I got Matisse Thybulle. I think he has a great personality so far from some of the interviews
He's
I've
so
heard.
innocent.
He is, and he's got that look, man. Sixers ladies who are Sixers fans are gonna love this guy. Like, look at his
We're an
smile.
attractive
Look at
team.
yeah, he's got. I mean,
should probably mention I am straight and in a committed relationship with.
yeah,
a
I was gonna say thank God.
Not that there's
Probably
anything
clear
wrong
that
with
up.
that Seinfeld moment. Nailed it.
I was
Continue,
gonna
Connor.
say thank God you just said I was going to watch TV with my girlfriend because we're about to sound really weird here. But I mean, the look he's got, everything, like, people are gonna love him. I think in interviews he has some personality. I think a lot of these Sixers have a lot of personality. I think they're all gonna feed off of each other. I don't think it's just two guys or TJ McConnell or whatever. I think there's a lot of great personalities, and I think it's going to be a fun team to watch this year. We talked about how special last year's team was at the end of the year, and we all got emotional. And well, I think this team's going to be even more special, especially because it's not just going to be for half a year. This is going to be a full year team.
Yeah, super excited for Brett Brown with that. I also think an underrated TJ Bobby thing will be Norvell Pell, who is fucking hilarious on the court. If you guys didn't watch the first Summer League game, in like 26 minutes, he had 9 fouls because you can have 10 fouls in Summer League because they don't really give a shit. He had like 6 blocks and he like shoulder shimmied his way through them. He was dunking the basketball over fucking everyone. He is a fun dude. He is like, first of all, with him and O'Quinn, like I'm like Bolden's done. Like ship him out for some minor cap relief and like a second round pick. I don't really give a shit. But Norvell Pell, I'm about that kid. He's an underrated one. So I think the only reason I didn't choose him is because he's going to be a 2-way contract guy, and I don't know how many games he's going to get up. So, but keep an eye out for him. Funny dude. Funny dude. All right, let's go to a final thought here before we wrap some things up. We'll start with Rob. I haven't started with you.
Final thought for me is the Sixers, their path to the finals is clear. I mean, the Bucks are the next best team in the Eastern Conference, and I think that the Sixers are a hair ahead of them. To me, there's no excuses to not make it to the NBA Finals this year, and because of that, I think that if they don't make it to the finals, Brett Brown's future in Philly could potentially and justifiably be in doubt if they do not make it.
Damn. Ending it on a negative note. I'm about ready to circle it back to you.
I completely agree, though.
So do I, but I wouldn't say it.
Well, you gotta say it. I saw someone tweet about it just the other day that it's Eastern Conference Finals or bust for him. And you know what? I completely agree. You got to get us to the finals. Screw the Eastern Conference Finals. We missed probably our opportunity at the finals off a quadruple doink. So now this is the year. There is no Kawhi. You know Giannis isn't coming out there and putting up a quadruple doink 3-pointer fading away with Embiid in his face.
Him, it would make sense.
So that, I mean, it had to be said. Someone had to say it. I know you want to protect Brett Brown, but someone had to be the one to say it.
Well, it's not that I don't agree. I just didn't want to end on such a somber note. That's all. So, Rob, I may or may not come back around to you. I don't know.
Hey, it's not a somber note because, like I said, their path to the finals is clear, and I do think that they are going to make it. So there, no longer a somber note for me.
All right, good. Now I don't have to come back around, and Connor can get to his lady or TV watching or whatever it is that you're doing. So, Connor, on that note, let's go to you.
So when you said it, you said you want to take. So I put together a couple takes.
Oh,
so
I dig it. Go ahead.
My first take is the Raptors will not make the playoffs in their defense of the title. Listen, I'm high on some teams at the bottom. I think the Pistons will be pretty good. I think the Hawks are going to be great. We didn't talk about them because they did nothing in free agency. All they did was draft.
They're so young.
Yeah, they just drafted.
So good.
bunch of stellar young talent. That team is going to be good. I think the Heat are going to still be decent. Like, there's a bunch of teams fighting for that 6, 7, 8 seed, and I just think that maybe I'm reading too much into the plus-minus numbers. Maybe these guys are going to be better. Maybe Kyle Lowry will come out looking like Rasul Douglas with a six-pack and giant pecs, and maybe it'll change the entire situation and the way we look at him. But I just don't think this team, anchored by Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, Pascal Siakam, Van Vliet, whatever names you want to say, I just don't think that's the team that's going to make the playoffs. I'm not sold on it. And my other take, and I'm not saying we are not going to the finals, because we are going to the finals. I do not think that the Philadelphia 76ers will be the number 1 seed. Love it or hate it, I don't think we will, and that's going to be my hot take, because
I'm cool with them not being the 1 seed.
I love the hot takes. I think it's probably going to be the Bucks who get the 1 and us get the 2, because we just know how we play in the regular season. We just know things will probably go wrong with Embiid. There will be situations, and we will be set aback a bit, where the Bucks will continue to roll forward to first place. So I don't think we end up the number 1 seed like everyone predicts.
Yeah, I'm kind of on that wave too. Scott, we'll go to you. Final thought, prediction, anything you got?
I'm going to keep it positive here and
Thank you so much.
say that I could not be happier that basketball is back in LA and back in New York. Granted, it's the Brooklyn Nets that are going to be good, but basketball is better when the powerhouse cities are good. So we've got Philadelphia, Boston, even though we've all been kind of hit or miss on them, saying we don't think they're going to be that good. I think they're still going to be decent. Miami.
I think they're going to suck, but that's just me.
I kind of hope they do. I hate the Celtics.
Everybody does.
Yeah, good. But the only big city here that is not keeping it up is Houston. We didn't talk enough about how Houston ended up doing nothing.
And had everyone on the market other than Harden. So, fuck.
Right.
What's that telling?
So it's a very, very awkward locker room. The front office is all in hot water. Everyone thinks they're leaving. They think they're going to get Russell Westbrook, but quite frankly, I just don't see how that happens. The Houston Rockets stink. That might be my take, aside from the fact that I'm happy that basketball is back in all the major cities, and we're all going to reap the benefits of that.
I agree. It's always better for the game, for all sports, when your powerhouse, major market cities are competitive. We have to keep marketing up and ratings up, and they certainly do. They are sexier than the Utah Jazz. Solid takes by all of you. Even you, Rob. I agree with yours. Just made me sad. That's all.
Hey, but I came back around and I finished on a positive note, though.
So you did redeem
that they will
yourself.
be in the finals next year, and honestly, I know I'm going to sound like a complete homer. I think they win the finals next year.
Whew. Dig it. I hope you're right. I truly do. I don't share that same positivity, but I always got to lean on you for that shit. Like, you drive that bus, and I'm like 5th or 6th row back. Like, I'm not quite approaching the front where I can be like your checklist guy for the rest, because I'm a little iffy on that. Positivity's not always been my thing.
Yeah, you really got to work on that. I mean, I'm trying to do it with the Flyers, and you just put it down every time.
I don't put it down every time.
It's hard to be positive with the Flyers, though. Come on. It really is hard to be positive.
It's hard to be positive as a Philadelphia sports fan in general. It's just
exactly.
Except for the Eagles.
So you have to be the optimist. You got to find a way to be the optimist. Even your optimism in the Phillies, it's so draining. It's so draining to look at your Twitter. I don't want to I don't want to retweet. I'm like, come on, let's be positive. Let's go, Shane. Lift us up.
Jesus. I'm just going to put smiley faces at the end of my angry takes. That way people think I'm just sarcastic. But I'm in a good mood.
Too much positivity can be a bad thing, though, because if I remember correctly, I projected the Eagles to go 14-2 last season. Wow. So too much positivity can be overdone.
Well, that's not fair, though, because we did have almost as many cornerbacks as you thought we would have wins. So you have to be we have to be fair here.
Oh, man.
Oh, shit. All right. My final thought and prediction is I think the Pelicans are going to get the 2 seed. I'm going to stick hot on the Pelicans right now. I think they're going to surprise the hell out of people, and they're going to be a really, really fun team to watch this year, as I have said the entire podcast, which is funny because I'm saying that while not being like a huge believer in Zion. Like, I think his game is severely flawed, and I think he's just going to be a really exciting athlete and not an exceptional basketball talent. But that's a conversation for additional pods when we break this stuff down. But I will wrap.
Take, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat on Zion. He reminds me of a DK Metcalf, just an athletic freak, but he's not necessarily going to bring what you hope to the team.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like, he's just got a lot to polish, is all I'm saying. And look, his athleticism is going to carry him to success regardless. Like, he'll have a nice career. I just don't think he's yet what people believe him to be. So I don't know. It'll be something interesting to follow. But he's got such an infectious personality that I just want to love the kid. He's the anti-LeBron, and I fucking love him for it. So
I see the Pels going 3 or 4 seed. I think Portland's going to be the 2 seed next year.
I do dig Portland too.
Let's go Trailblazers.
You and your McCollum love.
I love that person. I love the way you ended that, Shane. That optimism, at least for somebody.
Listen,
if not for Philly, at least for a team that we don't hate.
All right.
Backhanded compliment there.
I will work on it. Just so we're clear, it makes our show better when we disagree on things, Connor. That's why we've had to change the format of the show, because we agreed too much. We were both too happy all the time. Jesus Christ. All right, so I'm going to end this one real quick on a hinky cell phone note. So for those of you guys who know our intersegment bits, I'm just going to take a quick one here. This is something I personally believe is on Sam Hinkie's cell phone. There's a blanket email to all 143 members of the Process Era 76ers with a photo of just a menu of just food. That's right. Our Just Food. It's 215-794-FOOD. That's 215-794-3663. Treat yourself. Take it home. Sam Hinkie's taking everyone out to lunch, and Just Food's cooking. And for all of you who have followed us, you understand that we are big supporters of Just Food. So you too should join that party with Sam Hinkie and the 143 members of the Process Era Sixers. It's 215-794-3663. Just Food. Treat yourself. Take it home. Guys, it has been awesome. We gave Twitter handles at the front end. Well, for just Scott, actually. But regardless, everyone else knows everyone else's Twitter handles. Thank you, guys. This is the longest episode we've ever had, including a handful of ones that Connor and I ranted about forever on different things. And Connor, you are a part of that ranting. You are a part of the negativity on this show, and I embrace you for it. Regardless, I love you guys. We'll be back with several different episodes on TJ's One of Us and on Crossing Borders to discuss the full picture of the NBA free agency period. We'll break down more teams. We'll break down teams specifically from the West on one. We'll break down teams specifically from the East. But that'll be it for the Always Next Year podcast. I am Shane, for Scott Novick, for Rob Gilmore, and for Connor Donald. It's been fun. It's been real. We'll see you guys next week.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.